Executive Director of Child Health Advocacy Initiative and the former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Mrs. Shinato Jikutu, applauded the government and the efforts at rescuing the girls, but they say more needs to be done.
The ball is in our court to make sure we protect them and let them get back to their normal lives. And that starts with what government have to do to get them rehabilitated. And I think that starts more with their physical being, which is like, obviously, a lot of them have gone through abuse, things like sexual abuse. They need to go through a lot of tests, looking at pregnancy tests, sexually transmitted diseases, and probably any other kind of infection they probably have gone through. And then after being sure they are fit, then we need to look at even their psychological and emotional behavior. Or how they now? Are they really? Obviously, they've gone through a lot. 3 years is a very long time. I didn't even believe after so long we could still have them back. But we thank God, which means they need a lot of psychosocial support. And I'm aware agencies like the UNICEF, UNFPA, and even the Federal Ministry of Health have made statements that they are ready and willing to give these young people psychosocial support, which means they need to now know they're back with people, back to the family, back to an environment different from where they have been before. It's like another type of world entirely. They've been through a lot of danger, insecurity, uncertainty. Now they are back to their country, let's say, their country and their family, where they should be loved and shown affection. That means they need a lot of counseling, I must say. And that is what the psychosocial support would obviously do for them. And then, of course, you look at issues like spiritual development as well. They've gone through a lot. They've been brainwashed, or different doctrines and ways of life. They need to really try to trace them back to their root, what their beliefs are, and why they should obviously stick to what they believe in and do the way they have been brought up and what they believe in doing. And of course, we also need to look at issues like the educational support for the girls. Well, where did they stop? Where are they going to continue now? Which means, how do we get them back to school? How do we, those who want to learn, acquire skill, we need to look at empowering them so they can develop as well. And of course, you're also looking at issues from the community, because I heard stories like some of them said, and they didn't want to come back because of stigma and things like that. So the community would have to be ready to embrace them, to show love, to show care and affection. And that is where I think local NGOs can play a great role. Of course, we have the National Orientation Agency. They can also do some awareness campaign, but it's more like the community where they live and they see them and they have always known them, which means there should be a lot of activities with the traditional rulers, the women groups there, the youth groups there, and the community people, to be precise, educating them to be ready to receive them and show love and affection to them. So I think they still need to give them time to get over whatever they have gone through over the years, which means they should keep them in good care and make sure they get them settled in the area of, like we said, physical, emotional, spiritual, maybe in like 2-3 months in a secluded place, and make sure they are able to adjust when they get out. So obviously the issue of keeping them away from the public is not the right thing, but at the right time, when they will not all move and develop or get over it at the same time, because children really are quite different when it comes to behavior change and all that. But after they are okay, let's say in like in next 3 months, 4 months, thereabout, they need to get them back to the communities. And I must say, even the families will want to have them. And they also would adjust better when they are with their families. Just like most of the children we put in some of this orphanage and things like that. The campaign most times is like, find a way of getting them to live within the family setting. They develop better than when they are like secluded, whatever. But the issue is this: even when they get back to the community, they are not going to be, because this is a long-term thing. That's just like a short-term measure of making sure at least they can adjust. They must make sure they still work closely with them. If it needs even setting up like a group of the Chibok girls where they are still seen from time to time, monitoring their development, it's going to take time for them to adjust back to normal life.
The first release, we're happy, and we were almost going into despair before these 82 girls were now released. You know, owing to the negotiation that I understand Switzerland and the Red Cross were able to make for them. And many people are not happy about the exchange of hardened criminals for these girls. But, you know, I believe that sooner or later, hardened criminals will be caught. But the important thing right now is the lives of these girls. So I'm happy in a way that many of them are back. These 82 girls are back home with their parents. I can't quite put a figure to it now, the number that is left. I pray that they will be released very soon. My own take on it is that it's something that should never have happened. Our security was lax in one way or the other. But there is no way anybody could have known that anybody could have organized that. Whatever it is, there is nobody who has the right to actually kidnap these girls and put them, I can't imagine what they must have been going through during this period. I think they have to be debriefed because you never can tell with terrorism. They have to be fully debriefed because some of them, their minds might have been changed, ideologically. They might portend danger to whichever environment they go to if they're just released into the public like that. I'm actually in favor of their being kept, being treated. The doctors have to treat them, and also psychological approach. They have to psychoanalyze them and try and find out what they know and what ideologies have been implanted into them. You don't want a potential bomber living in any community. So government's decision to keep them, on this release and actually debrief them, I'm happy about it because 2 years is a long time to change. Only God knows what ideologies they've been put through.
Mrs. Aisha Buhari, the wife of President Muhammadu Buhari, has assured the rescued girls of government's commitment to ensure that their remaining schoolmates still being held by Boko Haram are rescued alive.
When you were away, I met with your parents severally, and we shared their sorrows. We cried together, and we prayed together. And as a result of that, I strongly believe that God answered our prayers by getting you people back to our hands safely. And I believe strongly very soon, those that remain in captivity will soon be with us by the grace of God.
A security consultant, Mr. Sheyi Adetayo, insisted that negotiating with terrorists is not new in the international community.
This particular one and the previous one, like I had, was handled by the DSS. And DSS is an intelligence organization. And when you're negotiating with organizations like Boko Haram, it's an intelligence-backed responsibility. And you don't want everybody to be involved. Even if the highest level of the military, they are aware, it will be based on the need to know. And their level of involvement will also, preclude them from actually, getting, they are even supposed to be more than 82, but for last minute glitch, in what they're doing. So we're still expecting more girls to be released. It could be tomorrow, it could be like in a week, it could be like in a month's time. So we cannot afford to jeopardize what is going on.
We wish to make your remarks now.
While it is expected that the same efforts will be put into the rescue of the remaining 103 girls still with their captors, the rehabilitation of the girls not be compromised to ensure that they are properly reunited with their families and ultimately reintegrated into the larger society as soon as possible.